Welcome in, guys. James Phillips here. This is week 3 of the Coach Moore Show. Coach Moore, we don't have a game to talk about this week.
It's a little different, isn't it?
Yeah. So you had a bye week last week. What did you guys do? Just kind of go over how that bye week went.
Yeah. We went 3 days for the bye week, and on Monday we ended up. We did the show Monday morning last week. We had rain, so we moved our JV game to Tuesday, and we had a big, really rainy practice on Monday. But I wanted us to go out when it was wet and get used to it and throw and catch in the rain and that sort of thing. So we didn't have any thunder or lightning, so we did that. We took Tuesday off just so that we could focus on our JV guys and beat Carver. Probably could have been worse. I think we beat them 28-12. And really played well. Really, I thought we'd have a good JV team, and we do.
Yeah, talk about the JV team.
Yeah, they're encouraging. First it starts with your quarterback always, and Spencer Rosenfeld's a really good little player, a kid that'll help us a little bit on Friday nights. But we had a lot of kids that ended up, where I think that once they develop more in JV, they'll be able to help us later in the season. And that's what JV's about. It's developmental. We played every kid. That doesn't always work out, but we want it to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to try and win. It's important to win at everything you do. But, we had a couple position moves. Stone was one of those that moved to linebacker, got to play. It's really his first game in there at linebacker.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of that going on, which, again, that's the developmental part, is that we wanted to, put them in positions we thought better suited their skill set and then allow them to play and live with it a little bit. We had a couple of young DBs that gave up a couple passes, but as the game went on, they progressed and got better. Our offensive line ended up getting better as the game went on. Guys that needed reps up there, fullback was a position we had young kids at, needed reps, there, and ended up getting better as we went. But, that's a big deal to us, both junior high and JV, and how we both develop players, and if we can win, that, if we can do both, that's great, best case scenario.
Somebody told me y'all had a great PA announcer.
We did. One James Phillips helped us out there.
Yeah, he did a great
job. You may know him. He did a really good job. We want that atmosphere, though. That was something last year when I reflected on our season. I try and do that. I reflected on our season. I thought, well, we didn't put enough into JV as far as the atmosphere is concerned.
Right.
Because we want that to be the biggest thing those kids have experienced so far. So we want to up our game. We're even talking about doing a JV starting lineup for the Jumbotron. Just stuff to appreciate. Those kids do so much and have to run down there a lot of times on scout team and give us looks for the varsity, and sometimes they feel forgotten.
Right.
Frankly, when you don't have a ninth grade staff like we don't, or a JV staff, and your varsity's coaching it all, sometimes those kids are left out a little bit. So we try to focus on them during the bye week and develop those guys.
Right.
On Wednesday, we went back to work and had the most physical practice of the year. Really, it was fall camp number 2. And we got out and really, tackled live, and we did live special teams. Kicking game was live, returners and everybody. We even had our quarterbacks live a little bit. Not much, but a couple. I'm just still where we're wanting to develop those guys, especially at quarterback. Young guys or inexperienced guys, probably better said, with Parker. But make him stand in the pocket under pressure, knowing that he's going to get hit.
Right.
And so we continued to work with that, and I thought we got a lot better that day. We even went back and did some board drills and some Oklahoma, some old school stuff. We really had a lot of contact, made it through healthy. And then on Thursday, we focused more on Dora, and so that's kind of how we played our bye week. And I think it went really well. We had some long practices, but the weather was nice. So the kids had a lot of energy, though. A lot of times you can tell, a lot about your team with the energy of a bye week, because they can either kind of shut it down and just sort of try and make it through, or they can come out and want to improve. And I think after the way the Coleman game went, they really wanted to improve and needed to. We felt like we should have pushed that game out. If anybody saw it, we had a lot more total yards and things like that, and we just felt like that we didn't finish the game the way that we wanted to. And so we really took that and really poured into that for the bye week and talked about that a lot, talked about finishing games and executing at a higher level. But then Friday, we took the day off, which was good. We had a bonus kind of day to get our bodies healthy. We went and scouted a couple games, and then yesterday we had a great Labor Day practice. A lot of people were enjoying the lake. We're out there working, and we had a great practice. Everybody's there early morning, a lot of energy, physical practice again, and hopefully we'll have another good day of prep today.
Right. Well, and y'all's game this week is our game of the week, and so we interviewed you for our preview show as well. But you had a couple guys in here with you. They performed well in front of the camera and that sort of thing. And you said you're leaning on some of those seniors.
Yeah, we are. Harrison Saunders and Sheldrick Cherry were in here. Sheldrick's a little shy in front of the camera, but Harrison really, that's his deal. He can speak in front of a crowd. He leads our FCA in our school, and he's just an incredible kid. And I'll tell you this, though. I mentioned how proud I am of those two guys, but, they didn't have to lead necessarily last year. I mean, they played hard, and they did their job. They both started every game and that sort of thing, but those kids have come so far. When you lose Micah Woods and Ronnie Holiday on defense, those were only two. We had a couple of other seniors, but as far as starters, those are the only two, but they were such leaders.
Right.
And so, when things got tough, Micah made a play or Ronnie made a play. And now it's on Harrison and Sheldrick and Andre Reese and some of those guys to step up. And they're really doing that. So, I think that they did a great job in here. They represent our school on and off the field. I can't explain to people how much, especially Sheldrick, has grown as a man in the last year, and how proud I am of him, and just kind of the ups and downs he's had in his life. And but he is allowing. All we ask our players is to meet us halfway. We're going to come as far as we can to help them and do everything we can, but they've got to be willing to meet us there, to allow us to pour into their lives. And Sheldrick does that. He's got mentors in the community that we've set him up with, and families that want to help him, and Kentavious Catlin the same way, and those guys have really, really come a long way. So I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of the way they represent Jasper.
Right. Well, and you're going to need that leadership this week. You got a rivalry game, you got a region game. Dora's coming to Jasper. Just speak to their team a little bit.
Well, really good. I mean, they. I mentioned this earlier, but they are a team that I see more continuity, more team chemistry with than a year ago. They lost some seniors that were really good players last year. Number 8 and Tavares and a couple of those. I mean, you're talking real deal players. Andrew Gaylor that played for us in the North-South All-Star game is a football playing thing. Now, I tell you, when I saw him first time, I was like, wow, yeah, he looks good, looks the part, made the most tackles in the North-South game, for the North squad. He's a good football player that they don't have. But again, just overall, something about their chemistry is what is concerning.
Right.
And Coach Lockhart does a good job there, and their staff, and they've got a lot of energy right now. Going from the first two big county wins was big for them. A game that they lost last year, 16-0 against Carbon Hill. They turn around and blow them out at home. The game was never close.
Yeah.
Tells you a lot about the how much they've done over the year. And so, the thing that when you cut on the film for the first time, it's two things that are really will help you win. One, team speed. With 22, Hosea and those kids can really run. Jamal Harris, that guy can really run. A couple of receivers. But then the size. I mean, I don't know how many guys they have over 300 pounds, but it looks like at least 10.
Right.
Large human beings.
Yeah.
And so, that is, if you're big and fast, then that's a recipe for success.
If there's anybody that you guys are going to play that match you in size, it's definitely Dora.
This would be it.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as up front, there's going to be a college size O-line and D-line, and vice versa. I mean, both sides carry heavy kids. We go about 285 up front, 290. And our defensive line goes about 270, 280, and theirs is probably heavier than ours. They're probably over 300-pound average on both sides.
Right.
So, that is concerning, because normally we're able to kind of move people around, and they got one kid in there that's 390. It's hard to move a kid that weighs 400 pounds. And he's a good football player and plays with leverage. And so they've got a lot of pride there at Dora, and I know they're going to give us a great game Friday.
We have to mention you do have 3 former Dora players. Is that something you've had to kind of especially talk about this week to keep people from being chippy or anything like that?
Yeah, but they're good kids, all 3, with good parents, and they're going to help us with that. We're not going to get into any type of chatter or any of that kind of stuff, no social media battles or whatever that might be.
Right.
And so we've really tried to get ahead of that, and I've talked to each of them one-on-one, and they're okay.
Yeah.
It means a lot, and a lot of those guys on the other side are their friends.
Right.
And that's hard. It's hard. And so they're going to struggle with that a little bit, and there'll be some extra nerves with those 3 kids, but they're solid Jasper football players, and we're just glad to have them.
How about for your team? What do you guys have to do getting better from that Coleman game? What do you have to do this week?
Well, we just got to operate. Like, there were parts of that football game where we were really good, and stretches where I thought we controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides. They had a little bit over a 3.0 yards per carry average.
Right.
And that's really good. Our goal's 3. It was like 3.6 or something. And so, we really got up there and stopped the run. If you take out the 62-yard trap that they ran, then the average is like two
Right.
yards a carry against a team like that with two Division I backs. That is really a big deal. And so there were points where we played well, but we just didn't execute at a high level. But you know what? We have a it's hard to say, but a relatively inexperienced team, especially, we got some veterans, but overall, especially offensively, we lost 7 starters on offense last year, including 2 5A first-team players in Michael Cree and Russ Green, and then a center that's now helping us coach that is an absolute ball-playing joker now, Ryan Pugh.
Yeah.
And so we really need to settle in and be more consistent. Again, there are spurts where we put up 400 yards of offense or so, but we only scored 21 points. That doesn't equate. If you put up 400 yards of offense, you score 35 to 40 points.
Right.
And we're just not doing that. So what that tells me is, well, we got inside the 10 and fumbled the ball. We got inside the 10 and had a holding penalty. We missed a field goal. Just finishing drives and executing is something we need to do a better job. And same thing defensively. I mean, you can't go 46 of 56 plays for 3 or less yards and then give up 10 terrible ones.
Right.
82-yard pass, 62-yard trap. Like, you can't do that. And big plays get you beat. Chunk plays get you beat. We have to be more disciplined than that. And that's what our focus has been. It's been about Jasper. It's been about our execution and our coaches. I told them, I said, be harder on them in the bye week than you've ever been. Be harder on them in this Dora week than you've ever been. And let's just make them, you can't be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect football, but along the way you might find excellence. You might find a really high level of execution and a really high level of operation, and that's what we're trying to find. And from every kid, from guys that are not playing a ton but are close, we're pushing those guys too. We have a really high standard, high expectation level. In all honesty, in 2018, had we won the Coleman game and been where we are today, we would have felt really good about our football team.
Right.
But we're not there anymore. This is year 2. It's time to grow. It's time to make our program better, more dominant. That's what I want. I want us to dominate games, and we're just not quite doing that. Even last year, we didn't dominate them. The only dominating performances we had last year were Russellville and Southside Gaston.
Right.
We dominated those 2 football games, but we should have done that more, and we just kind of got in our own way. And so we fought real hard about doing that, and you hope that year 2 you can get to that point.
Well, this is shaping up to be a pretty interesting week in the region because you've got Corner playing Russellville, and then you guys in Dora. That's probably the top 4 teams in the region, or at least arguably. It's almost like a semifinal type feel.
Well, you'll know a lot after this week. Corner has a really good football team. You know what Russellville's going to bring. And as I mentioned, our game with Dora, as I said, I think they're better. And I think that, they have something to prove. And it's going to be a dogfight, man. It's a rivalry. And, it's hard to, just like it was with Coleman, it's hard to push those scores out. Those games are always tight, and you have to execute at the end of the game, to win. Just like our defense did, last Thursday.
Right.
They got the pick on 4th and long when they had to have it. They made a play, and that's what it's going to come down to again Friday. So, I'm eager to see the score with Russellville and Corner. But again, we're focused on Jasper. But yeah, it's going to go a long way to starting the region play.
Right. Well, and the biggest thing you need from people watching at home is to show up, right?
No doubt. Well, we've got some distractions. We've got Foothills coming up, which is a great event for our community. I don't mean it negative when I say distractions, but it is. It's an event going on in a relatively small town that
Right.
you have 2, the biggest events. We're hopeful that people will still come out. I talked to some guys from the city, and the big bands are going on late.
Right.
And so hopefully people will come to our game and then check out and go to Foothills. So, but that's a great event. People say, well, why don't you move it to Thursday? I said, well, it's Friday night. It's time. We played to meet the Vikes on a Thursday. We played Coleman on a Thursday. It's time to play Friday night football.
Right.
And I know there's other things, but same thing last year, and everybody showed up to Dora last year.
Yeah.
Same thing, same event.
Yeah, it was a big crowd over there.
It was a huge crowd.
Yeah.
And so I know that we'll have another packed house. I tell you this, I would love to just coach football, but there's a lot of other stuff that comes across my desk. And one of the issues was traffic, getting into the stadium, people being late for the game. We've worked real hard on that. Now, we ask people to come early because it's going to be crowded again, but we've worked really hard with our local police and with our event group to help us with parking and get people in. So everything that we have that doesn't go smoothly, we want to address that.
Right.
I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but from the bathrooms, the way they look, to the cleanliness of our stadium, like all that stuff matters. And so if people are having a hard time getting into the game, we gotta fix that issue.
Right, and they really should come early because they're not going to be bored because you got plenty of music playing, you got stuff on the jumbotron, like
Yeah,
it's
nice highlight video.
Yeah, there'll be a good hype video
Yeah,
playing. So I
yeah.
mean, you got plenty of stuff for people. They're not going to sit there on their hands,
Well, there's no doubt. One thing that is different here from Eufaula was, with us having Jonathan Jordan as our AD and having a true director of football ops and Anna Pugh, and having a principal that really, really wants the atmosphere to be special. Like Mr. Allen did all of that with the ship, that we
Right.
ran out of.
Yeah.
Like that was his deal.
Yeah.
I didn't touch that. And we want this to be an entertaining event. We want little kids to be able to come who, I have a 6-year-old, I have a 9-year-old or 8-year-old that really likes to be in the game, but my 6-year-old could kind of care less of what's going on out there. So like I need stuff for him to do. Like my wife needs him to be entertained, and we try to provide that, from the concessions, the job that our band does, the cheerleaders that we have, all the things pregame
Right.
that we offer. Like we did basically a USA theme, and we recognize our first responders, against Coleman, and we always want to make it an event as well. Now obviously we have to focus on the game itself, but outside of that, with our crowd, we need them to have an opportunity to be entertained, much like if you went to a Braves game or something.
Right,
We want,
right.
we run smoke, and
Right.
all that. I mean, we try and have fun with it, and our administration and our people do such a great job with
Well, we
it.
probably don't mention concessions enough. That money goes to help the band for
It
all the
does.
stuff that they do. And this year, I know I was told by one of their boosters that they have cotton candy and
Yep.
they have barbecue from
That's
the
right.
bullpen, barbecue nachos, and they take debit cards.
It's big. Our
So that's a
stadium
game
does
changer.
too.
Oh,
Our
really?
stadium does too. You can enter with a card. Like we don't want any excuses for people to say, "Oh, I forgot cash. I'm not going to go to the game." You're fine. We have a credit card machine now, and so we're trying to keep up with the times. And but yeah, the band does a really good job. They take pride in it too now.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do, and that means something. You don't want to have a great stadium, great atmosphere, and terrible food.
Right.
You want people, because we don't want people to go. Hope they go downtown and eat and everything, but maybe after the game. During
Right.
the game, come and grab you a snack and help support our programs.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to add this week?
Well, I mean, it's a big game, again, but we got to make it about football. What's really cool for me in my experiences when I was at Eufaula, we didn't have a natural rival. And here we have at least two, with Coleman and with Dora and some other local schools. Corner's not far from us either.
Right.
But it's fun to do that. But again, we've got to focus on ourselves. And that's not just coach speak. We've got to work on Jasper and be the best we can be and leave all the outside factors away from us and just play football. But we're excited, and we know it'll be a great atmosphere Friday night.
Right. Well, and I've had to work hard to turn myself from a county guy to a city guy, being a Dora grad, and
Yeah.
now I cheer for the Vikings. So
Right.
it was a little bit of a transition period for me.
Your
too.
kids going through kind of help you, though.
Right,
That makes
that
life a
does.
little bit easier.
Yeah,
You
that-
always pull for who your kids are,
Yeah.
or
Whatever
with, or
jersey
whatever
they're
they
wearing.
have on. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So fans, come out. It's going to be a huge game Friday night. Dora's coming to town. You want to pack the stadium and cheer on the Vikings to a victory here in Region Play. For Coach Moore, I'm James Phillips, and we'll see you guys next week.